What's going on, everybody? Marriage One-on-One with the Gilliards. How everybody doing today? We got some special guests with us, and this is our brother and sister-in-law, and they're gonna be joining us today. It was supposed to be a couple more people, but we're gonna just go over what we got. But our discussion today is staying in your lane. As far as like in a marriage, when the husband may overstep his boundaries with things the wife is handling, or vice versa, the woman stepping in the lane of what the husband is doing. So we're going to be discussing that. We're going to do it just like how we usually do it, even though we have guests today. So chime in the same way that we always do it, and we're going to just have some fun today. Amen. I say amen. I say amen. We're in that church. Amen. Not right now. So basically, some of the things that we're going to be talking about as far as like staying in your lane, they say with the wife, when, you know, most of the time the wife handles the things that go on in the household as far as how it's decorated, what colors is this and what color is that. So sometimes we may have some men that try to coming in, stepping in the lane or going on in the household. You're like, no, I want this color and I want that color. But you know, most of the time that's the house is the woman one. I mean, everybody understand what I'm saying. So, or even vice versa in the man, when it's let's say you're dealing with your kids or whatever, and the men might discipline a certain way, and the wife might feel like that's harsh or whatever, or you shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that. So the men, you know, if we handle it, we feel like, okay, that this is our lane. We got this. So sometimes you have where the women feel like that is their lane, or they feel like they can come over there and handle some things that the man supposed to be handling, or vice versa. So we're gonna talk about that. So what's your take on that? And then we're gonna pass it on down.
Okay. Basically, we had the discussion during our marriage retreat. So it was basically like a lot of times the men feel that the women overstep the boundaries or tell them how to discipline the kids. So, or if they handling the kids, they feel like we come behind them or maybe interrupt them and be like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? What's wrong? Or whatever else like that. So they feel like we're coming into their lane as a disciplinarian. I'm gonna just speak from that part. But a lot of times the wife have to be the disciplinarian. They be in the house a little bit more than some of the fathers because of work or whatever else like that. So they have to be the disciplinarian. And it's not that we're not staying in our lane, it's just the fact that we're used to doing that. So when you do come in here and we're used to doing something, it's like, okay, I can handle it or whatever else like that. It's not the fact that we're overstepping our boundaries, but when you're used to doing something, you're gonna it's a form of nature. You're just gonna do it. So, but it's a habit. So you're just gonna do it. It's not the fact that we don't respect what y'all doing. It's not the fact that we don't, because this could be times when you don't like the way I do something. There's gonna be times I don't like the way you do something as far as disciplining kids or whatever else like that. So you can't tell me to stay in my lane. I don't get that. Like, seriously, I don't. So, yeah, that's my thought on that.
So we're gonna pass it on down because I got some things to say about it.
What do you got to say?
We're gonna pass it down to the other Gilliards.
No, me?
Yeah.
I mean, I just believe that, sometimes it can happen in a marriage, far as the spouse may kind of venture off into the other's lane. A lot of times when there are not roles that are defined, in the marriage. Sometimes where there's not, it's like, if you don't know the roles per se, or address how one another is going to do certain things, then it could be a problem, because when you don't know, you trying to find that place. And so sometimes, that causes spouses to kind of get in each other's lanes. And just like, for example, like disciplining, disciplining the children. If y'all have not sit down and talk about who's going to be the disciplinary, how we're going to discipline them, and then a situation arises and y'all haven't really, determined who's going to do the discipline, then now I can see how a spouse will get in another's role, because y'all both trying to discipline, and then now it's a big issue. But I think a lot of times if y'all, discuss those rules or duties or however they call it in the marriage, I think that'll help, for one another going outside of their lanes or boundaries. And that's my take.
Mother? Okay. Well, my thing is, prime example for us, when we first got married, of course my children were a lot older, and I know that I struggled with him disciplining my older kids because it was just me. So the way he was doing things, I didn't want him to do things the way he wanted to do them. And I had to learn how to step back, because I see he was doing things different from me, because I was raising kids by myself. So all they knew was me and all I knew was them. But when we actually got married, it was so hard for me to stay in my lane, because first and foremost, my husband at the time, well, he had an older son or whatever. I felt like he didn't know how to raise kids, or he didn't know how to discipline them. So anytime he would say something, I would say something back. I think they were 12 and 14 when we got married? 12 and 14 or something, so they were much older. So it's harder to discipline a teenager than you would a 4-year-old or 5-year-old coming into a blended family. So I had to learn how to do that. Even when they got older, I still struggled with it. And a lot of times, like my sister said, staying in your lane, it depends what the situation is. Because a lot of times, I heard my brother-in-law say, well, my brother, I don't like to say in-law, but my brother, he said that, what did you say at the retreat? When you're trying to discipline and we kind of like say
like
something behind you guys?
Like you want to kind of control the way that we discipline it. Like, it gotta be the way that you feel like that's how it should be done.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why I say you ain't in your lane,
Yeah.
you discipline them. Let me do it the way I'm doing it, and not try to tell me exactly the way you want me to do it.
And as moms, we're nurturers, and we want to hug up on our kids when you guys are so rough. Y'all don't understand that part in it. But I honestly believe staying in your lane is more like you let me do it my way and you do it your way type stuff. I don't think that's right. I still think it should come to a common ground and say, let's come together and figure something out. That's my thing. Because you men, y'all could be a little harsh sometimes now. You could be, but like you said, it's the way that you do things.
I just got a thought for y'all. What y'all think about when you're dealing in a relationship where the person you're marrying already have kids? Do you feel like your spouse should be able to discipline your kids, or you do it because it's yours and he's not the biological dad, or she's not the biological mom? Because some cases you have where you have kids and the ex-boyfriend or ex-husband is still in their lives, and you get married again or whatever, or you visit somebody you was dating, you had kids with, and they're still in the kids' lives. So you got, he's still, or she's still, you know what I mean, doing her part as the parent. And then basically what I'm saying is, I hope I'm mixing up how I'm saying it, but where, just say for instance, me and her married, you know what I'm saying, and say I had a son that was already born before we got together. Okay, his mother is still in his life or her life, and she got her way, she disciplined, I got my way. But now that I'm married, we still get along with the other spouse, and where so ain't like I'm in a new marriage, but I was single before. You get what I'm saying? More so, I married the father or the mother involved in the relationship, and then you got basically two homes.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Do you believe that as being the stepmom or stepdad, do you believe as that spouse, are you willing, is it okay for that person to discipline your child? Because you know sometimes they may feel like, well, they're mine, you know what I'm saying, so I don't feel like you should be disciplining my kids because they're mine, they're not yours. Yeah. So you kind of a little more sensitive to when the person says something, and a lot of times people get in arguments because of that. Be like, well, they're my kids, and I don't want you to say this certain thing to them. I don't want you to react to them in this way. You know what I'm saying? So how y'all feel about that? Because I know there's plenty of people out there that maybe married, and your husband, your wife had kids before y'all got married, and how do you handle that? I just want to see y'all opinions, even when the child may be disrespectful to you, and like, well, you and my mama, you and my daddy. How do y'all handle stuff like that right there? Yeah. So
me, well, me personally, I feel that the parent, whoever's in that house, as far as you want to say step parent, is in that house, should have some type of way to discipline that child, because when that child see that they could kind of get over, basically, as far as like you telling your spouse or whatever that you cannot do it, they play on that, and that can easily cause a separation between the husband and the wife, because kids are very smart. As soon as they see their parent come to their rescue and that they are sitting there and the parent is saying, hey, you know, such and such or whatever else like that, then that child will play on that. They definitely will play on that. And that could bring a wedge in between their husband and their wife. So yes, I believe that both households should come together. And if you getting along with your spouse, and if you get along with your ex-spouse or your baby daddy, whoever it is, if you getting along with them and y'all they get along with your new spouse or whatever, then y'all need to come together and let's talk about how we're going to discipline all around, because you can't discipline differently in one home and then come back into another home and then you discipline differently too, because guess what? They're going to start playing house against house also. Kids are very smart. They're going to do that. And I truly feel that will happen. That's my opinion on that.
What y'all think on that? No, it ain't got to be ordered.
Okay. Well, as far as like the boyfriend and girlfriend thing, I don't think that a boyfriend or girlfriend should discipline your kids. No. I think it should be when you're married.
Okay, so if they just say we staying in the same house.
That's boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, like we shacking up or whatever people want to call it, and just say you dealing with a man, he moving the house. You know what I'm saying? Even though that's your boyfriend or whatever, because this do happens.
Yeah.
He's not allowed to discipline, and he paying all the bills.
From experience?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
From experience, I have to speak for this from experience. No, because I remember one time when I was living with a guy, and this was in DC, and he was a good guy, and I allowed him to discipline my kids, but he ended up slapping Paris. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that right there crossed boundaries. You can't give boyfriend, you can't give your boyfriend leeway to your children because you just don't know what you're gonna do. Which husbands can do it too, but it's more of a loving thing when your husband will discipline your kid. And I've had maybe 3-4 boyfriends or whatever, and I lived with maybe 3 or 4 boyfriends, and each person did something different. But me, honestly, I wouldn't give boyfriend any type of leeway to discipline my children. From experience, from what I saw, what I allowed, because it could have went further than that. I was really, really upset when and Paris was only like 2 or 3 years old, and we were pushing her in a cart. We was in the store, and he would talk to them, whatever, but for some reason he just felt like I can do this because she gave me the leeway to discipline her kids. So we was just walking, and I don't know what she did. I don't know if she was crying or I don't know what she was doing. Matter of fact, she was 3, and then all of a sudden he just slapped her. You get what I'm saying? So you can't be doing it as a boyfriend. You shouldn't be doing it as a husband, slapping your kids anyway. But from experience, I don't think that's right. It should be 2 coming together as a married person, as a married couple, and disciplining your kids. And then when you have multiple kids, it's different personalities as well. So you really got to discipline them according to their personality. One may be a little softer than the other. Like I couldn't treat Tazaya the way I treated Paris or Tyrese, because Tyrese was a lot more sensitive, even though he was a boy. You get what I'm saying? So that's my take on that. Boyfriends, no privileges.
But
I'm sorry, no.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's like that's the thing. Why I feel like when you're not married, you shouldn't be staying together, because
you shouldn't.
I just feel like if a man is dating a female, which that's be most likely the case most of the time, and this male moving your house, in the house you're staying at, or you move in the house the male's staying at, and he's taking care of everything, he's paying the bills or whatever, and he don't have no leeway of discipline in the house, and you got little kids or even teenagers. It's like he's just paying the bills, because once they see that he ain't got no kind of control or whatever, they're gonna run over him. And it's just like, I'm coming to pay the bills. You get what I'm saying?
You're talking about fornicators.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's why I say I think that's why I say, to me, this is my opinion, that you should be married and stuff before you move in, because of situations like that. Because I know any man, if I'm paying the bills, but I ain't got no control of what's going on in my house, I ain't gonna want to stay home. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. That's a rough position to be in, isn't it?
It is. I've been in plenty of them.
Yeah. I don't know.
She would look. Y'all been married 45 years. What you got to say?
I guess the question was, is it right for, dealing with a blended family, is it right for the stepfather or mother to discipline the children? Honestly, I would say yes, in this sense, because when you become married, you become one.
Yeah. But we talking more so
if you're not
married, like you just living together.
Then it's not a blended family.
Yeah.
That's not, I guess, a blended family per se. That's just more moving in the house with each other.
Yeah, that's basically how we were saying. We put it in both terms, but more so we want to hit on that, because I mean that's what usually happens. That's basically the norm most of the time. Well, yeah, you could hit on both parts, yeah, definitely. But yeah.
But that's a part of staying in your lane as a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And again, everything goes back to defining the roles and responsibilities of each party. You know what I mean? Like, the purpose of them coming together, moving in. What's the ultimate goal? You know what I mean? And if they don't have it, then obviously they're not going to have any role as far as who's going to discipline what. You know what I mean? And like you said, to moving together, not married, and bringing children in, that's a very tough situation to be in. You know what I mean? And honestly, to be honest with you, you know, it's going to be chaotic from the beginning. You know what I mean? Because really, there's no ultimate goal right now. You know what I mean? Because we haven't established this foundation that, hey, we are one. You know what I mean? And so if you don't got that, then it's gonna, you know, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be tough. And then even if she, like the dangers, like she said, the dangers in that is because now you expose your children to someone that just, you know what I mean, that's not necessarily a father or have that role and responsibility of a father. You see what I'm saying? He's just there now because we're feeling each other out and we trying to figure out if it works. And I don't think you ever want to put your children in that type of environment. You know what I mean? So yeah, my thing would be, you know, like if they're married, I think yes, in the marriage sense, I think yes, that step parent should have the right to discipline that child because y'all are one unit now. And so now y'all are one. So that child now has access to both of y'all. And both of y'all should be able to rear that child in the way that child should go. You know? But that's just my take.
But what if the person disciplines the child in a like gentle manner and not a rough manner?
As a boyfriend?
Yeah. Because sometimes you could get those ones and they bring them, but they get the child calm down and, you know, they talk to them in a certain way and let them see their wrong way. That's a form of discipline. They're gentle with it. They're calm with it. Versus the ones who yell. Would you still allow that person to discipline or not?
Well, like I said from experience, and I've had some crazy experiences. I gave them that position, which I shouldn't have, you know, to discipline my kids, and it just didn't turn out right, you know.
Because what if it does go into marriage? Then that person, your child is yet still used to that person not disciplining them.
So the key would be, if that's the key of them coming together, whether it's boyfriend or girlfriend, then they need to sit down and establish up front, you know what I mean, the roles and responsibility. If we're going to be cohabiting together in this house, how are we going to deal with the children? And so now they have to define the roles. And you're saying, should that person give them the right to discipline?
If they're nice and if they're really
Does the way that they discipline them, does that play a major role in how you allow them, or if you want to allow them to discipline them? Because now you got some men that will do it really rough. They're like, you know, they voices are very loud. They yell or whatever else like that, try to make the child timid of them. But then you got other men who do a different approach, and you know, you're like, you know, especially boys, hey, let me come, let's have a talk here, son. Let's sit down and, you know, let's look at this a different way with how you did, and that's a form of discipline. So would that change
depending on
how you feel?
Yeah, what type of discipline they're doing.
Yeah, would that change how you feel? Because it depends. If you see certain things, you're gonna open up to certain things.
Well, going back to what we were saying earlier, I think sometimes when you blending, even if you're married or you're shacking up, you're gonna have some issues when you deal with kids, especially those teenage kids. Yeah, they get 11, 12 kids. So it can get rough when you blend families. That's why you gotta make sure that's the person that you really wanna be with, because it's real hard to define who role is who, what lane is what lane when you have a blended. You get what I'm saying? And not more so all the kids in the house are ours. You get what I'm saying? So
that's why I don't even recommend you even go
Go
that route.
route,
You know what I'm
it's
saying?
like,
to avoid all of that stuff.
yeah.
Because the young man, he was nice and everything.
Yeah.
You know, he treated the kids like they were his own. But when I saw that slap, that just kind of
But was that his first time ever disciplining them? Or
no.
have he disciplined them in a different way before?
He disciplined him in a different way before, but after I saw what he did, it was more like, I ain't dealing with this. You get what I'm saying? Because it could have gotten worse if I would have continued to allow it to happen.
Because that also makes it hard for the woman or the man to be like, hey, you can't, when they do try to discipline, once you do get married,
Yeah.
you be like, never mind, I still got it.
Yeah.
So it makes it harder for you to let go. But Nicole Simmons says if you can't trust a man or woman you live with to discipline a child within reason, and that isn't biologically theirs, is irresponsible of the biological parent. They should not be living together at all.
True. Definitely.
That's why I say just avoid it at all costs.
But I
If
mean,
you can't do it, then if
Yeah.
not, then you know that's you. But I just say try to avoid it at all costs. But you know nowadays this is what people do.
yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
And
So
I really don't recommend people to. I just don't feel like it's something that you do, but it happens when people are not married and they live together, whatever. Just know that where you gonna be facing in those things, because it's already tough just being married and trying to blend things together and stuff like that. And you always gotta set the boundaries, set what I don't say boundaries, but set what we're gonna do, how we're gonna do things. Because sometimes you may have where female or male get married and their kids, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever the kids may be. Sometimes I think it's when they're younger, it might be a little bit more easier, but those teenage years and them hormones and stuff like that, you may have where the a man, y'all can get married to a guy or whatever, or female, and the kids, they're just blended. Sometimes it seems like it's more easy for that person to discipline than you. Sometimes kids will respond more to the spouse that's just coming in more than the parent. So I guess it just depends on what the situation is. But I don't believe that you should get married to somebody and you don't. Hold on, let me go back. I don't think that you should get married to somebody and you don't trust that they can discipline your kids right.
Yeah.
So that means like you really ain't open yourself, and you still got your guard up because you don't trust them with your kids. But if there's somebody you marry, you should feel comfortable enough that they're gonna respond to your kids the right way. And then that's when you gotta kind of stand together and set those things of this is how we're gonna do in the household or whatever. Because most of the time now, that's how it comes together. You rarely hear where somebody get married and then they have kids. A lot of times it's blended family. So dealing with it is different. Sometimes, man, people go through H-E-double-E hockey sticks when you come and you blending families. That's tough, but everything gotta be like he was saying, be established, man. Cause it can be chaotic. Cause now, let's say for instance, like in your case, where you've been single for a long time, and now that you're married, you so used to doing the things of doing both parents' roles. Now you gotta know, okay, I ain't gotta be the father no more. I just gotta be the mother. And that happens a whole lot when. And that's part of staying in your lane, because sometimes some people, you might be 40 years old and getting married, and now you done play the role of father and mother. Now it's a father actually there. You don't know how to give up and allow him to be the father in the house. So that's basically one of the points that we're talking about staying in your lane. And so I didn't see much people asking them questions today.
And also, I believe that you should build rapport with the children. I think
Yeah.
that's important too. If you're trying to get to know the mom, you should get to know the kids as well,
Yeah.
so that you can build that trust with both parties. It's just really important to, because some kids, when you blend it like Paris, that's when Paris started acting up. When Q came into my life, that's when she really started acting up because she felt like I was taken away from her. And that when we got married, it was more of me trying to protect her instead of allowing him to discipline her. But there was no rapport at the beginning. You get what I'm saying? There was no relationship at the beginning. So it's important when you're having a blended family, get to know the kids too. Don't just leave the kids out, and that way they can trust you, and the mom or dad can trust you.
That's it.
You think that's-
I lost my train of thought. But what is that when like it's biologically your kids?
Yeah, I'm about to talk about that too. Yeah, I was just thinking about it.
We talked about it from the point of blended family, but biologically, because you have said I step over.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're gonna go over the one when in our case where all our kids ours, we all us in the same household, and when it comes to discipline, because a lot of times you brought up different. Some kids, you you brought up, you might ain't never really get no beating or no, you know what I'm saying, you've been disciplined, but back in the days you could just butt tail up. It's almost against the law now, but and more so like I got my way of discipline, you may have your way of discipline, but you trying to tell me how to discipline is, I feel like then you in my lane now, because just because I ain't doing it the way that you want me to do it, don't make it wrong or don't make it right. I know for me, like I don't really, I more use my mouth when it comes to our kids. I guess I'm the less disciplinary one, and I know sometimes it seems like the husband is more disciplinary, but I'm the one, like I can say something and then that's it. And sometimes I got a teenager in my household. Sometimes you may have to get in the face a little bit or whatever, or repeat yourself a couple of times for them to actually get it. But I'm the type, I'll give you a couple of chances, and then after you don't get it, then I'm wrong. But with my wife, she give you about a chance and a half, and then she up in you. So I'm a little different with disciplinary, because you still have to deal with that, even if all the kids yours and stuff like that. And you may feel like, well, the husband, the wife, they ain't doing enough of the disciplinary. They seem like they're leaving it to me to do everything. So it can go both ways. It's a blended family, and just a family that's built together to deal with disciplinary or do the lean, following the leans and stuff like that in the marriage. And even sometimes when it comes to handling things that's in the marriage, and how you deal with it, as far as like say taking care of certain things that's in the household. Sometimes and more so the men take care of it, but the wife may feel like you ain't moving fast enough, so she step ahead of you and get it done. So sometimes that could be the case of staying in your lane too. Like just say for instance, if you're buying something, y'all talked about it, but you ain't really come to a final agreement about it, and then you go ahead and do what we talked about, and didn't really communicate with the spouse what you're gonna do, so you just go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? So stuff like that, that's really stepping out of your lane, and a lot of times that's when it caused more friction and stuff in the household and stuff like that. So
I don't do that.
I'm just saying example.
No, I'm just saying because
Yeah.
you was like, my thing is with that is because you said I'm like one time, but I've been dealing with for years with these children. But I'm like basically being the top disciplinarian. So now I already told them I'm not dealing with that no more. I'm not keep repeating to myself no more. They not about to give me no stroke. They not about to kill me. So yeah, I would sit there. They get one chance and that's it or whatever. And I don't think I ever come, maybe a few times I probably would take help or whatever else like that and said something or whatever else. But most of the time, me and you kind of deal with the Kel together or whatever. So that's why I'll be kind of confused. Like, what are you talking about? As far as you saying stay in your lane or whatever else like that, because
I was talking about in general. I ain't like talking just to you. That's what I mean.
yeah, but still, you still say it. So you gonna address it? Thank you. So, because we're still talking from our point of view as far as being parents or whatever, or being married or whatever else like that. Because my husband will let stuff go on for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I'm like, okay, dude, you don't hear nothing? I try to be quiet. Then I'll be like, okay, it's time to handle it. Just like you said, it may not, but my thing is, why not handle it before it get too much out of hand?
See, men handle things different than females. Like, you even like, just say for instance, when the man at home and they watching the kid, he chilling, they be running around
Yeah.
the house. All we can do like, hey, cut that out of there. And that's what we gonna do. But they gonna get all frantic and stuff. So y'all, I just feel like we gonna handle it a little different. We just use our mouth. We don't let it stress us.
But it don't.
So
it don't help.
I mean, I'm just smooth sailing with it. I ain't about to get all bent over shit.
No.
I'm be like, hey, sit your butt down.
And they
You know what I'm saying?
but they can still continue doing what they doing.
Yeah.
Like
But-
y'all be chilling and then you done tear the house.
the house
So when
again.
the wife come in, like, dude, what was you doing? That's why we fuss with y'all, because it looks like, hey, what was you doing? You just let them tear up the house or whatever else like that. So I don't know.
Because that's just how we do. That's why it is. You
But
got
then the
your
wife
lane,
gotta come home
I got
and
my
clean
lane.
up.
Listen,
Like, come on now. Then you made it my lane. So you can't tell me stay in my lane when I'm coming home and I got to clean up or tell the kids to clean up because you let them do whatever. That thing, hold up, you just drove in my lane, now I got to take the wheel.
no, listen. We just do stuff different. So,
But don't come in my lane then, since you
Yeah.
tell me don't drive in my lane, so I got to take the wheel.
how to try your lane?
Because if you at home and you chilling and you don't discipline them, and then you just holler and yelling, but yet they still tearing up the house, but you don't tell them, hey, sit down, clean up, stop doing all that. But yet I come home after them being out from whatever I'm doing, and then I gotta come home, and then now I got to holler and yell, well, I done told them kids to clean up. Bruh,
So you ain't stay in your lane.
No.
then you put it in my lane.
I
Like you drove it there. Like you put it over there. You put the signal on and you said, here you go. Because now I got to come home and yell at the kids. Now I got to come home and clean up and stuff. So
That's what
yes,
happened in
in
our house
order.
for y'all.
Oh, it has. I
It don't be
lie.
happening now.
It don't
We're
happen
not talking.
often, but
We're
it
talking
has.
about the
tense.
past.
Past tense.
Future tense.
It
It don't
has.
happen.
Our kids are getting older.
Man, all I say is, y'all know what y'all supposed to do? And it's done. That's it. And then we go chill. We watch TV and stuff. And then I ain't yelling and stuff. I'm like, hey! That's all I got to say. And you know, man, y'all know that's what we do.
Something about that man's voice.
We'll be in the room watching TV or whatever. And they might be in the living room while they're in the room. We hear a little noise. What y'all going on with me? And that's how we watch the kids. We ain't gotta be up on them like how the grandmothers do.
That's how you watch the
We don't beat up on them either because I don't even, we don't beat our
Fellas,
kids like that.
y'all know.
We don't beat on our kids like that. I don't beat my kids like that.
I didn't say beat.
You said beat up on them, we did.
Oh, I said we ain't got. Oh yeah, well.
And I don't beat my kids like that. You only when you beat. But anyway, but yeah, don't do it. Don't drive over here in my lane. And then tell me stay in my lane. No food, you just came in my lane.
I'm gonna scratch my head on that one.
Please do. Scratch it real hard. But that's basically the only thing we kind of talking about with staying. What else? With staying, that just was one of the things that we talked about during our marriage retreat, was basically the disciplining of the children and how the husband handled the kids, that we see a little differently or whatever else like that, how we discipline. But in all reality, it should be a common ground. Tell you the truth, whether it's a blended family or it's a family that just like from marriage or whatever, biologically or whatever. So it's just common ground and setting the tone, because even with one that is biological, kids could play in that too, because lots they feel like oh if I can't get over on daddy, he feels like if they can't get over on him, then they're gonna come to me, especially my little one or whatever else like that. He don't get over on me. I just refuse to fight certain battles.
He get over.
He doesn't. I just refuse to fight certain battles. I'm not fighting. And each kid you do discipline according to their personality at that also. So I don't do with him. Look, I don't fight certain battles. I'm the guy. If he won't wear something, let him wear it. Why am I fight that?
Let me tell y'all. When it deals, like we already know we ain't, unless the Lord intervene, we ain't having no kid. So she knows this is her last one. The boy is spoiled. So
baby.
she just to get away with a lot with her. Because when I do certain things, you go run right to mommy and say, let me. So it's
so
like.
when you do certain things, it should come to me too. It's like.
Nah, I'm a baby girl. No.
So Deja spoiled with you and Kari spoiled with her.
Yeah, it's a power trip with him and Kari. I done said that before.
Yeah.
Like it's a power trip because he feel like I'm gonna win this battle. Like, dude, why? Let him wear what he wants.
So y'all could be going at it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it used to be. It's getting a little better, but it used to be horrible in the morning. All I would be hearing is yelling, going back and forth, and Kari crying or whatever else like that. It's like, dude, you really power tripping right now. You really won't win this battle.
No, listen. Let me explain this right quick because I want them to get more involved. But let me explain this right quick. How I've been brought up. When we go to school, my son is 5 years old. He's in kindergarten. When I've been little, we just put on what our mother tells us to put on. In the mornings, because me and my wife, we take turns taking the kids to school. So if I'm off, I'm the one that takes them to school. So in the morning, we kind of change it now when they get their clothes the night before. But before, I'll pick out a pants, say, okay, Kari, this your pants, this your shirt. He'll sit there, he ain't want to wear us. So I'm like, dude, we got to get to school, you wearing this pants. So he'll start that crying thing, and I'll make him go put the pants on, he had a shirt on, and he go ahead, if she's sleeping, he go in and lay by him over, and then I hang, but Daddy, just let him wear the pants he want. So I felt like that was his way of saying, well, I'm gonna wear what I want because I'm gonna go to my mama. So she felt like it was a power trip, but
It's a power trip.
it's more so my son's, you know what I'm saying? He ain't like, man, I'm gonna wear the pants I want to wear, Daddy.
It's a power trip because I learned that from Kaman. Kaman was like that also. So after a while, I was like, I'm not fighting with another child with that. Would you want to wear what you want? Go ahead. I don't care. As long as if you look good. I'll check you before you walk out the door.
So now, to not hear her mouth, and I ain't gotta hear him crying in the morning, we came up with a solution. I give him 2 pants. Either he pick one of them and he put them on, and we go. But it can be tedious. Like, my son is so particular. Like, you know, now they got all the ripped jeans and stuff like that. He don't really like those, but sometimes we bottom them. And if there's a little rip in the leg or something like that, he's not gonna wear the pants. So you sit right there fussing with him to put on a certain pants. If they don't hang a certain way off his shoes, the boy don't wanna wear the pants. So, like, I ain't used to that. Like, what my mama said, that's what it is. So, it was kind of different, but I want to give y'all more chance to say some stuff because we won't prolong it too much. So, because I can talk now, y'all know that. So, just, you know, give, I guess, like a closing statement, remarks, so we can go ahead and end the live. Because we ain't gonna prolong it too long. Yeah. So
about staying.
Yeah, just the whole intent of what we talked about.
My thing is, I totally agree with both you guys because you gotta come to a common ground, just like you said. You gotta find a solution with Kareem because Kareem, he is spoiled. He's spoiled with me too. So, but we love Kareem, but you do have to come to a common ground to make things work. Like the two different backgrounds, it can, when you come together as one and you came from two different backgrounds, that's one of the hardest things that you could ever face because you got to come to something. You can't say, well, I was raised like this, I got to do it like this. And the other spouse can't say, well, I was raised like this and we got to do it like this. You got to come together and make it work and make it happen. And sometimes one person may have been in a stricter household, and then another person may be in a more so, I let you do what you want.
Kind of lax.
Yeah, exactly. So I just believe that, you know, staying in your lane, to me, it just really depends on what it is. It really does. Because if I say, okay, for example, if I say, you know, Q, I know, can you know, get the oil change or whatever about my car, and then he prolongs it, and then it keeps going, and then it keeps, and I'm like, and I already got an attitude, like, man, I'm just gonna do it myself. Then for future references, I'm gonna automatically think that way because he's gonna move on his own time. So it's not intentional, it's just that it has to get done. So it just really depends on what staying in your lane is as far as a husband or a wife. Because a lot of times, I'm sorry, man, y'all move so slow. And we need to get things done just like that. If we need our oil change, get it changed. We shouldn't have to ask 2 or 3 times, and we shouldn't have to do it. You know, if we ask you nicely the first time, and then 5 weeks go by, and the car ticking, and the car smoking, or whatever, then we have to do it. You know, me personally, I want to stay in my lane. I don't want y'all to roll. I'm here to help, that's it. So, and it can be tough on you men, but, you know, just let's stand in your lane, y'all.
Just like I said, don't drive that car over here.
Exactly. So it just depends on what it is, and you just got to step up as a leader in the home, as the priest of the home. If wives ask you to do something, we really would appreciate if you do it like the first time. Maybe the first and a half, but not 6 times, man. So that we won't have to jump ahead of you and make you feel like, you know what, she acting like me, or she in my role, and I was supposed to do it. Just do it. That's my intake.
What's your intake over there? Cause she mostly she talking to you, dog. So what's your intake on that?
I mean, again, you know, I go back to, you know, what I said in the beginning. Just pretty much, you know, building that foundation. You know what I'm saying? Understanding up front what are the particular roles, you know what I'm saying, in that each other play. You know what I mean? I think once you find that foundation, then you'll be able to build whatever from that. You'll have some type of vision of where you want to go. You know what I mean? I think it keeps things in line. You know what I mean? But like I said, you know, it's tough, like you said, with a blended family. You know, she made a good point. You know, when 2 different backgrounds come together, you know, trying to become one, that can be real tough. You know what I mean? Especially if they were total opposites. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, and one thing I wanted to say is that communication is very important. You know, when it deals with staying in your lane. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we get out of lane because, you know, either we did something because we feel it was the right thing to do, we didn't check with our spouse or whatever the situation is for us, had we would communicate and say, you know what, baby, do you need something done? Vice versa, husband or wife. It's not just the male. It could be the female too. You know what I mean? But when we communicate that, I think it'll be a lot easier to know where do we stand in that particular situation.
Okay. Now I want you to talk about what she said about she talking to you a bunch of times about.
Oh, she was?
I guess you missed that.
Yeah. She thought she had something.
Okay.
Can you check that? Did anybody say something?
About which part?
What she was saying, like when the wife gotta tell you a bunch of times.
Oh, well, see, this is the thing. Truth of the matter is, us men, you know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna always do it the first time. I mean, I'm gonna just keep it real. But we can be more sensitive, you know what I mean, to the needs of our spouse. You know what I mean? When it comes to when they ask us to do something, you know what I mean? And I'm learning, because sometimes she tell me to do something, and it just all depends on where I'm at. I might not hear her, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Or I just might not just listen, bottom line. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Communication is everything, you know what I mean? And listening, you know what I mean? And just being more sensitive to the needs of your spouse and being willing, you know what I mean, to compromise. And I think when those types of things are in place, I think that staying in your lane won't be so hard at all.
All right. Yeah, I think we went long this time, but it's, you got 4 people trying to give their opinion in a short time. But we thank y'all again for tuning in. Marriage 101 with the Gilliards. Y'all like, share, tag somebody. Check out our YouTube page. And our YouTube page is Marriage 101 with the Gilliards. We're going to put our marriage retreat. We got some videos and stuff that we're going to be uploading on there. What we had this weekend, which we do every year. So y'all continue to stay tuned, continue to tune in, and continue to like, share, and tag someone.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
See you. The outro music.
I know, right?